Political rivalries often spark some of the most unexpected and dramatic moments, as opponents compete to gain the upper hand, aiming to weaken their adversaries while fortifying their own power. But few rivalries in the world today are as intense as the one unfolding in the Philippines. Recently, the nation's vice president dropped a bombshell revelation, claiming she'd once asked a hitman to target the president, his wife, and the Speaker of the House if she were ever assassinated. Her chilling warning, she wasn't joking. Although she has since tried to backtrack, this shocking statement highlights the fierce and deeply personal feud between two of the most influential political dynasties in the country. In this video, we'll break down the political storm brewing at the heart of the Philippine government, dive into why the president and vice president have reached such a bitter stalemate, and explore what this all means for the future. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll stay up to date with all our latest videos as soon as they drop. To fully grasp this escalating power struggle, we need to get to know the key players in this political drama. In the Philippines, political dynasties dominate the landscape, and this particular saga centers on two prominent families, the Marcoses and the Dutertes. Let's start with Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., the country's current president. Marcos Jr. is the son of the infamous dictator Ferdinand Marcos, who held power from 1965 until his ouster in 1986. After a disgraceful exit that sent the Marcos family into exile, their return to power seemed nearly impossible. Yet, Bongbong's victory in the 2022 presidential election marked a shocking political comeback, one that revived the fortunes of the once disgraced Marcos dynasty. Now, let's talk about the Duterte family, a powerhouse in its own right. At the helm is Rodrigo Duterte, a brash, no-nonsense populist often compared to Donald Trump. Before serving as the Philippines president from 2016 to 2022, he spent decades as the mayor of Davao City, the country's third-largest city. Known for his fiery rhetoric and controversial policies, Duterte's leadership style left a lasting mark on Philippine politics. His daughter, Sara Duterte, has followed in his political footsteps. In 2022, she became the vice president, elected alongside Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Their alliance, branded as Unity, brought together two of the most powerful political dynasties in the Philippines and led to record-breaking victories for both. It was a partnership that promised stability and strength. But it didn't take long for the cracks to show. From the start, few believed the Marcos-Duterte alliance would last forever. But the speed and intensity of its collapse surprised everyone. By January, less than 2 years into their 6-year terms, the alliance unraveled in spectacular fashion. Former President Rodrigo Duterte ignited the feud with a fiery, expletive-laden speech accusing Marcos of being a drug addict. This explosive accusation set off a public tit-for-tat. Marcos hit back, alleging that Duterte himself was under the influence of fentanyl. Not to be outdone, Duterte escalated the claim, labeling Marcos a cocaine user. What began as personal jabs quickly spiraled into a full-blown public feud. By June, the fallout was undeniable. Sara Duterte resigned from Marcos's cabinet, stepping down as the education minister. While she remained vice president, her resignation signaled a complete breakdown in their relationship. It also gave her the freedom to openly challenge Marcos, a challenge she's embraced with full force. Just last month, Sara Duterte didn't hold back during an online press conference, unloading a laundry list of grievances against President Marcos. In a moment that shocked many, she expressed her frustration by saying she wanted to exhume Ferdinand Marcos Sr.'s body and toss it into the sea. And if that wasn't enough, this month, she escalated things even further. She claimed there was a plot to kill her and admitted she told someone, "If I'm killed, you'll kill BBM, Liza Araneta, and Martin Romualdez." For those keeping score, that's the president, the first lady, and the House Speaker. She made it clear, no joke, no joke. The response from Marcos was swift but indirect. Without naming Duterte, he vowed to combat any reckless threats against him. Lawmakers have since summoned Sara Duterte for questioning. But what's driving this dramatic and very public feud? What's really tearing these two powerful families apart? One major sticking point is Marcos Jr.'s push to amend the Constitution. Officially, the move is framed as a way to attract more foreign investment to the Philippines. But Rodrigo Duterte has accused Marcos of having ulterior motives, specifically aiming to remove term limits so he could serve beyond the single 6-year presidential term allowed by the Constitution. Rodrigo didn't mince words, warning Marcos that tampering with the Constitution could lead to history repeating itself. His ominous message: Marcos risks facing the same fate as his father, who was ousted by the People Power Revolution in 1986. Another source of tension lies in their contrasting stances on China. Under the Duterte administration, Philippine foreign policy leaned heavily toward Beijing, with closer ties and softer rhetoric on territorial disputes. Marcos, however, has flipped the script. His administration has embraced a more pro-US approach, granting expanded access to American military bases in the Philippines and taking a tougher stance on China's claims in the South China Sea. But the feud isn't just political, it's deeply personal. Sara Duterte herself is facing allegations of corruption over her use of tens of millions of dollars in confidential funds during her time as Vice President and Education Minister. This has drawn sharp criticism from House Speaker Martin Romualdez, who also happens to be Marcos's cousin. Meanwhile, her father, Rodrigo Duterte, is under fire internationally, with an international criminal court investigation scrutinizing his brutal war on drugs, which allegedly involved widespread extrajudicial killings by police and death squads. In short, this family feud is more than just a clash of policies. It's a battle of power, legacies, and survival in the tumultuous arena of Philippine politics. Let's talk about one of the most startling revelations in Philippine politics. Rodrigo Duterte, during his time as Davao City Mayor, admitted to a Senate inquiry that he had a death squad composed of gang members. Yes, you heard that right. A death squad. This shocking disclosure has fueled ongoing investigations into both Rodrigo and Sara Duterte. And as the pressure builds, their escalating rhetoric seems like a calculated attempt to fight back, shore up their support, and distract from the mounting negative press. But here's the bigger picture. This isn't just about personal feuds. It's about setting the stage for the 2025 midterm elections and, ultimately, the 2028 presidential race. Both the Marcos and Duterte families are positioning themselves for dominance, with Marcos Jr. term-limited and unable to run again in 2028. The race is wide open. On one side, Sara Duterte is seen as the Duterte's top contender. On the other, Speaker Martin Romualdez, a close ally and relative of Marcos, could step up for the Marcos clan. The stakes are high, especially in the 2025 midterms, where Filipinos will vote for half the Senate, the entire House of Representatives, and numerous local officials. Political analysts view this as a referendum on which dynasty holds more power. For the Dutertes, the midterms are critical, not just for gaining influence, but also for shielding themselves from ongoing and future investigations. A stronger Senate presence and control over the presidency in 2028 could provide the political cover they desperately need. So, what can we expect? The rivalry is almost guaranteed to intensify. The sheer drama of recent months suggests that things could escalate further, but predicting where this might lead is like trying to guess the next twist in a soap opera. As we look ahead, the question remains: what's next? Marcos still has 3 years left in office, with the next presidential election slated for May 2028. But with the two most powerful political families locked in a public feud, it's unlikely the tension will hold until then. Will it lead to outright political warfare, or could they surprise us with a peace deal? Now, about that peace deal, it's a long shot. And even if it happens, it would likely be a power-sharing arrangement where the Marcos clan steps aside to let Sara Duterte run unopposed. Such a deal wouldn't just highlight the fragile state of democracy in the Philippines. It would undermine it further. Protecting Rodrigo Duterte from the International Criminal Court would only deepen the public's mistrust in state institutions and their ability to hold leaders accountable. Meanwhile, let's not forget the real issues facing the Philippines. Flood victims still wait to rebuild their lives, and countless families continue to seek justice for the thousands of extrajudicial killings under Duterte's presidency. This political soap opera, while captivating, does nothing to address these pressing concerns. Instead, it points to more bad governance ahead. If you've made it this far, you can tell that here at Asia Chronicles, we're all about bringing you the raw, unfiltered truth. If you're enjoying our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe even show your support with a super thanks. It keeps the coffee flowing and the insights coming. Thank you.